Difficult. Women.
Huzzah.
Howdy. Another H word. How's it going?
How are you?
Helpless.
Hopeful.
In hell. I don't know.
Oh, that's Katie Frame.
And that's Marie Cecile Anderson. And this is the Difficult Women Podcast.
Ah, yeah.
Everybody, crowds go wild. Yeah.
What's up, girl?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I don't mean to be a negative Nelly over here.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
Tired. Working too much.
Yeah, ditto. We, ladies and gentlemen, you know, Katie and I were talking for about a good 30 minutes before we hopped on this podcast. we could have recorded that. But we're just some working ladies right now. And, you know, so lucky for it. But holy moly, who knew a pandemic would just make us work harder than we've ever worked in our entire lives?
Yes, it's crazy.
But lucky,
I was
very fortunate. Very, very fortunate.
Oh, my God. Yes, absolutely. I am not complaining about that really, but just need more life balance, work-life balance.
Right. But it did make me think, like, so lately, you know, I'm sure it's happening in New York, but it's happening here in Nashville, but just the labor shortage, you know, with the restaurant industry and the just going out to eat, there's just always like an explanation of labor, of shortage of labor. And it made me think like, oh, well, yeah, I'm not doing that shit anymore.
No.
Because we were up in the restaurant world, the catering world, the events world, but the pandemic hit, and then it made us realize, holy hell, we don't have to do that shit. No. There's actually other things that our talents are better for.
Yeah. And we were underpaid and underappreciated. Totally. And that's like, if you want people to come back into the restaurant world, you got to treat them right. Also, right now, just a side note for people that don't know this stuff and don't know what it's like to be a waiter and all that, like, the treatment that waiters have been getting since the pandemic, aside from the money, is just atrocious. Like, people come in and my friend was a bartender and has been bartending, and like during the middle of the height of the pandemic, especially, people would come up to her and rip her mask off and tell her like, you shouldn't wear that. They would not be following the rules. There were some strict pandemic rules during, you know, where like you had to wear a mask inside at the time before the vaccinations and stuff. There was a hostess that got like punched in the face, right? Because people didn't want to show their vaccination cards. I mean, it is out of control how people are treating people.
And it's going to get real bad up in the skies. Let me tell you, the flight attendants are really getting it.
Oh, God. It's what is happening. Like, this is not. And then you complain that no one wants to be a waiter. It's like, yeah, because you treat them like garbage.
Right.
You know, and that's not even the employer. That's the customer.
That's the customer. Right.
So like, you guys, and anybody that isn't tipping 20% every time, even if your service sucks, like, I'm so sorry, but like these people don't make any money. The restaurants don't pay them. And if you don't like the system, then vote. Right. Like, we need to change. And I agree. I think the tipping system, we shouldn't use it. We should just be paying our employees a real salary. I agree. But in the meantime, like, it's just, you gotta tip them, even if they suck. Even if they suck, because they might suck for reasons that you don't understand. Like, that day they're in the weeds. There's too many tables because there's not enough employees. Like, you don't know why they didn't do a good job. They messed up your order. That might not even be their fault. It could be the kitchen. Like, you just, please, I'm like begging you. If you go out to eat, please tip your servers and your delivery people.
I know. I got into it with a friend the other day. He was like, yeah, I don't really tip when I do pickup or and then delivery 15% or 10%. I was like, no, just do 20. Just do what? It's just a couple bucks. Come on, people.
Yeah. No, and because I used to work at a place that was like a sandwich delivery shop, and those delivery kids, like, not even kids, like adults that are trying to feed their children and stuff, there's people that just don't tip at all because they're like, oh, it's just delivery. Like, what did this guy do? It's like, he's running the food for you and he doesn't get paid very much. So like, if you don't give him a tip, he did all that work for nothing. And even delivery stuff, people think, oh, what's the big deal? Just drop it off. You'd be shocked at how many times people like give the wrong address, or they won't answer the buzzer, or like then the guy's standing out there waiting with the food, or like some of the stories I heard from our delivery people was like insane. So please be mindful.
Wait, did I tell you? Did I tell you this story real quick, guys?
Yeah, no.
Hold on.
Our episode's not about. I don't know why I'm on this rant.
No,
but yes, tell us.
But
the
I'm
story.
so angry about the people not tipping. Okay, so a couple days ago, like weeks ago, I woke up and I went to my workout class at 7 a.m. And as I'm walking out, on the table in my backyard, there's a pizza, some mozzarella sticks, and a salad delivered at midnight the night before. And I was like, that's weird that it's just sitting out there, because there's nobody living in the house next door. And so like, who delivered this or whatever? So I go to workout group, but come home, it's still there. And I'm like, okay, it was cold last night, so it was like sitting in a refrigerator. So I just brought this food back inside with me. And then I had the salad for lunch. And then at night, I brought this pizza. And that's
poison you or something. Tricking you with
that's if that's how I go, Katie, that's how I go.
Oh yeah,
but I brought it to my friends, and we all ate it, and they were. I was like, I literally found this outside. Are you guys okay with eating
to try
this?
it? Yeah.
But we did. We warmed up the pizza and the mozzarella sticks, and it was great. So anyway, somebody fucked up, and I ate it. I'm so sorry, but
I mean, it's fine. Oh, here's another tip, by the way, for someone that works in a delivery place. If like Grubhub or somebody, because that's a different company, so sometimes those delivery people don't work for the restaurant, they work for Grubhub, things like that. People don't know this stuff. I think that's part of it. But like, if an order gets mixed up, number one, it's annoying. I totally get that and whatever. But make sure you call the restaurant right away and like try to help them figure out where they messed up, because it will save them, especially if something got messed up. Sometimes it's because they're so busy. Right. Like call the restaurant and just let them know kind of what happened, because that can be very helpful when they're trying to figure out what the mystery of what went wrong, and will save a lot of heartache for everybody. And it's not a big deal. Just call them real quick and be like, hey, just want to let you know.
True.
And then and you can get your order redone or whatever it is you need to do. But also sometimes I'll just eat this.
If 8 hours has passed and it's still outside in your backyard, you can
then you can eat it. And you don't have to call anybody, especially if you don't know where it came from. Oh God, are these holiday tips? Maybe because
I don't know. Yeah, it is
like
the week
people
of
are going to eat out more. Yeah, and
that's
it's
right.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody!
Happy Thanksgiving!
Oh, yay! Well, wait, we have something to be incredibly thankful for, and it's a huge announcement to all of our listeners.
Yes, this is very exciting.
We have merch.
Merch, baby.
Merch. You guys, I'm going to link it in the description below. It's Difficult Women merchandise. We had this incredible artist design it. Please check it out. You can go to reformedwhores.com and it's there, or you can check the link below.
Also, by the way, if you are like really hankering for a certain item that you don't see, we would love to have feedback on what kinds of things you would like with our logo or with our merch stuff on it. And we're going to try to come up with even more logos and stuff. But the image we have is so freaking cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. We did a beta test run and I received the merch and it smelled like chemicals. And I said, we did this whole fast fashion episode and I was like, well, we cannot be the problem. And some of the stuff was polyester and microfibers were in, because I wanted to do face masks, but those things are like just polyester, so it's just going to kill people in the oceans or whatever. So I took everything down and redid it all, and now it's all eco-friendly, and hopefully we are not making much money from it, but it's good quality stuff.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So you might request something and we might be like, no, we're not making that because it's the environment. Yeah. But if there's something you think of, it still would be nice for us to know, because we might be able to find a place that can do it. So
absolutely. But please buy our merch. Happy holidays.
Yes. Holidays are right around the corner.
Yay. And because the holidays are amongst us, we thought it'd be fun.
Amongst us. They're hiding around.
They're hiding. We just thought it'd be fun to do a little episode about the importance of grandmas.
You know, we never talked about grandmas before, really. And sometimes we don't think about them enough.
I know.
They're pretty important to our lives if you're lucky enough to have had some grandma time. Mm-hmm. Or they can be.
That's true. It kind of makes me a little sad to talk about grandmas, because I really didn't get that much of a chance to know both of mine. My dad's mother had Alzheimer's, and so I have memories of her when we were younger, like, she really loved to host parties and cook dinner. But she really was very distracted. And then I think she had early onset, and so it kind of was a very long decline. But I hold her name, and so my name's Marie Cecile, and her name was Cecile. And so at the end of her days in the nursing home, when she really wouldn't recognize anybody, I would go visit her, and I would say, I'm here. Marie Cecile is here. And as soon as I said that I had her name, she would look at me, and I really felt like she knew that I was her granddaughter, or at least somebody that was her namesake or something. So that's why a lot of people are like, why do you do 3 names, Marie Cecile Anderson? And it's because Cecile, like, I love that name, and I just really want to be proud of that. That was my grandmother's name. And, her last memories, my last memories of her was her looking at me when I said that name. And so I'm really proud to be her namesake. Nice. So that's why I do 3 names, because I love her and I like my name. So
that's great. Yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't. My middle name is also my grandmother's name.
Oh, really?
On my mom's side. So I have a sort of unusual grandparent situation and I was very lucky to know all of my grandparents, but I had 3 grandmothers and 3 grandfathers.
Oh,
because my dad's parents got divorced and remarried way before I was born. So I grew up with like 3 grandmothers and 3 grandfathers. And my mom's side of the family, I think if we had lived closer to my grandma, my mom's mom, and she lived in South Dakota, I think we would have been closer just because she was very active in the family. But even with her being far away, I still was quite close with her, and her name was Adele.
Oh.
And my middle name is Adele, and I love that name too.
Yeah,
actually. And I don't really go by Catherine Adele Frame, but it's not said. People call me Catherine Adele.
When
sometimes.
I buy you plane tickets, I type it all in.
Exactly. But I was very close with my dad's mother. Very, very close with her, because she moved to DC at a certain point with her husband, my grumps, and so she was nearby, and that was like awesome to just get extra time. And she was like there was a point in my life where I was not very supported from my parents with like the art stuff. They were just really freaked out by it, which I understand. And I would talk to her on the phone like once a week when I was in college and stuff. And she'd be like, keep doing it. Keep going. Don't listen to him. Just don't quit. She's like, the only thing you have to do is just don't quit. And she really was like important figure in my life. So grandmas can be so important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my mother's mom, Grandma Jackie, she passed away when I was quite young, but one of my only memories of her was when she gave me my Care Bear, which then I turned into that Care Bear humping song.
Yeah, exactly.
Which at first I thought my mother was going to lose her shit when she finally heard us singing the bear humping song, because it was about my Care Bear that my grandma had given me. But it turned out that I think that she was quite, I don't know. Funny how art
Thanks,
can
Grandma.
kind of...
Thanks, Grandma,
thanks for giving me my bear humping song. I don't know. Grandmas are just so lovely. And it's been such a wonderful thing to see how my mom is now a grandmother to my sister's kids. And
yeah, I was going to say.
I don't think anything is as important in her life now than her grandkids. Like I bring up the Roshan and Mathai, and like my mom just lights up, and she just it's pure joy. So
well, there was this really I wouldn't even call it an article so much. It was more just like a writing. a writing, is that a thing? A writing in the Guardian. I'm going to call it that. By Ed Cumming. It's called "Is It Better to Be a Grandmother Than a Mother?" And it wasn't the super informative article, but it's worth reading. It was very sweetly written. But he just talks about how grandmothers seem to just delight in their grandchildren in a way that they didn't in their own children.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And what is that about? And he was even saying he had this very it's the Guardian, so he's English, and he had apparently like a very stoic mother. And he was like, nothing is as jarring as seeing her interact with his children, and her just the cooing and like the, you know, oh, my baby, my puppet, my little one. He was like, she's like unrecognizable. Like just wasn't the mother. And I know with my grandmother, my dad's mom, like she was going through a rough time, I think, when her kids were her kids. And so she was definitely a different grandmother than she was a mother. And that definitely can cause some tension amongst families a little bit, because, you know, it's weird. You're like, wait a minute, why weren't you like that with me when I was growing up? But it's a different role. You know, it really is like a different. And one of the other things that he says is in this thing too is just that just the way he frames it is so cute, like interesting and cute, but that how like as a parent you have to be kind of like a conservative person where you're like, you're going to wear your jacket because it's cold out, you're going to eat your vegetables, you have to kind of make sure that your child is alive, you know what I mean, and taken care of in this way. And he was comparing grandparents to anarchists, where they're like, eat the candy, like you don't have to wear your coat, like yeah, and it's sort of like a fun, and that's just a more fun role, right? Like you're not having to like, he's saying like as a parent you have to keep your child alive, but as a grandparent, it's more that you have to just like return them in one piece. You don't have to think about it all the time. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, did you know that humans and whales are the only mammals that have grandparents?
Oh, whales. Oh, whale.
But like, I guess
didn't know
that the whales actually help in the whale rearing.
Yeah.
They actually help with the babies. So like the mama whales can go hunt and gather food.
Hunt and gather.
That's what
they do.
They gather some kelp and some
exactly.
seals. While like the grandmothers like babysit, I guess. And the same thing with humans, which is, you know. But they were saying, so I was reading this Atlantic article that was saying basically there's like the grandmother hypothesis, and it says our mothers are why we live so long, and it's actually about evolution, which
it's fascinating.
That
this
I know,
theory.
and so you're better at explaining things after reading. if you want to,
if I can keep this one clear.
Kind of,
So like the idea was that when grandmothers started becoming a thing in like human culture or whatever, that the life expectancy of children went way up because there was, I think partly just there was other set of hands and eyes to take care of these kids, right? So they're not just like walking into the lion's den or whatever it was that people were doing back then. But the part that really was interesting to me was that they think it's possible that whatever you called humans before they were like full humans, like, you know, half monkey men, whatever they were. What is that called? I don't know.
Homo sapiens or
prior that, whatever.
Yeah,
the medium people, the people that weren't quite there yet.
Monkeys. We don't know.
Monkey people.
Monkey people.
The monkey people. They were saying that. Am I better at explaining articles? I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm here for this. Keep going. I love it. You had me at monkey people.
Totally. So very scientific. The monkey people, they were saying that one of the reasons why genetically we could have potentially jumped from monkey people to human people that could actually build societies and civilizations and not just like walk around like animals or whatever, is because of grandmothers. Because what they were able to do was for natural selection, which I'm not going to go into that. You guys have to look that up. You know how it works. That because the grandmothers were helping the kids not die so much, that once grandmothers became a thing in society, the survival rate went way, way, way up, like we just said. And what they were preserving were the indoor kids, basically. So like the kids that were not as like savvy with the wild wilderness, but were smart, you know what I mean? That they were able, the grandmothers made it so that our brains could develop in a way that would not have happened if we didn't have that extra care, the extra level of care for the children. Does that make sense? I think I did a real roundabout way of explaining that. So that
grandmas made brains bigger.
Yes.
That's
it. And it was what made us jump from monkey men to humans, actual humans.
Grandmas. I mean, that is fascinating.
Yes. God, that was a long roundabout way.
You did great. Thank you. You did not want me to explain that.
No, I don't know.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. But I think that that's really neat. I think that's really neat. That like and I think that certainly in our Western society and now our modern Western society, we do not respect our elders. We just like, they get kind of old and then we throw them in a home or God knows what we do with them, you know? And in other cultures, the elderly are the top of the food chain, top of the
hierarchy.
Yeah. Because like, and for good reason, right? The idea is that they have the most knowledge of anybody because they've been around the longest. They have survived longer. So like they deserve respect for that. They created us. It's from their loins somewhere down the line that we came. And it is a shame that we don't do a better job of taking care of our elders.
Right.
That's a sort of I didn't mean to go down that path, but it's true.
It is absolutely true. And I do think that, I mean, there's lots of problems with America, but add that one to the list too. Yeah. Because our infrastructure, there's job insecurity, there's systemic racism, there's, I mean, and then we just
are not nice to our grandmas.
And they're going to take Social Security away for, like, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. And then the threat of like, well, who's going to take care of you? That's why you should have children now. And it's like, well, fuck that. What kind of pressure is that? You want me to find a partner and have a child just so that child will take care of me when I'm older? Like,
and the truth is, they might not be able to because if your children don't have money either. I mean, it's like there's the whole system is. But here's the other thing about all that is that we're also not, and I talk about this all the fucking time, and I'm not going to stop, is that we don't have enough community in our culture. It's this rugged individualism, and that is a big part of the like grandma factor, right? That we have, that our families are tighter knit and our communities are tighter knit so that we can all be working together to take care of each other. And then we can bigger brains, right? Because grandmas are there to help, you know? And it's, and I think grandmas and grandparents in general, it's an extension of community that we are just missing terribly in this world.
Well, in The Atlantic recently, there was an article about how this is the era of grandparents, mainly because of the opioid crisis. There's a lot of parents who are not able to take care of their children because of drug addiction or alcoholism.
So sad.
And it's worse than ever before. And so parents are turning to their parents to take care of their children, and legally too. And and it's never, I mean, I think there's more grandparents being the child caregiver than ever before. And also my mom was kind of saying that last night, because at dinner I was like, what's the importance of grandparents? What do you guys think? And I was curious to hear about my mom's own experience with her friends who are all grandparents, that a lot of her friends are like the migration of grandparents. I was like, what are you talking about? But she said that more grandparents are moving to the towns where their kids live to help with, take care of the kids, but also to seek help from their children.
I love that. That's what it should be, though. And I mean, in some ways, like maybe we are fucked because we don't have kids because, like,
I know,
like we don't have that, that built-in community, really. Right.
Well, also you live longer if you have grandchildren.
I mean,
there's
got
like a longer life expectancy. You're happier.
They've done studies too that to bring in children to like nursing homes and stuff because it really helps. If you just like are old and around a lot of other old decrepit people, it's kind of depressing. But if you bring like young energy into these places, that really can help keep people healthier. Because you got to chase.
They do that with
kids.
Puppies too,
and puppies. Yeah.
Well, one thing I do want to circle back to the evolution article that we were talking about. One thing that we didn't talk about was just how menopause might have played a factor in grandparents as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. That evolution would cause women not to be able to reproduce at a certain age just so they could then help with their grandchildren.
Own grandchildren. Yeah.
I mean, it's a hypothesis, but because we can't prove that, but I just thought that was kind of fascinating. So that's why we're going to dry up, so we can take care of our non-existent children's children. Great. Love it. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that as like as an evolutionary theory, or that like it's not just like, oh, social. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I love that it's like could potentially be something that like genetic, whatever, science.
I mean, I think it would have been cool for like an 80-year-old to have a baby, but I guess evolution.
I mean, honestly, that you look up that happens sometimes with all the IVF and stuff, which I'm all for, but I don't know if I would want to have a baby at 70.
Yeah, I know. Talk about breaking a hip.
Crack a bone. Yeah, exactly. Jesus. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, if you have your grandparents, give them our love.
Absolutely. That's another thing too. I feel a little bit bad about not. I mean, you have siblings, so your mom is a grandmother for that. But like my mom is not a grandmother.
The pressure is on.
Kind of bad.
Child. Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel better though that she has we have like a family friend who's around my age, and she has a son, and like they visit a lot. They're in France, so they visit a lot, and she at least has some grandma moment. She gets to do some, and I think that
How old's the kid?
He's like 9 now.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
he's like he's like one of the best children on the planet. So I'm a little bit afraid that if I had kids, like I would, of course, you'd be comparing him to this just angel of a child, and I'd be like, you better be good for grandma because stakes are high.
Do you think your mother would migrate back to America if you had a child for her to help?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, she's talked about that. Like, I think she has that in her mind that like, if I had a baby, that would be a really big reason why she would come back. And she probably would want to live closer to me. She's talked about living in New York. It makes me nervous thinking about her living in New York, only because I don't want people to push her and stuff. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to. Like, one time she was visiting, and this guy like ran a cart right into her, like on the sidewalk. And I freaked out. I scared my mom because I was like, what are you doing? Like, you've got to watch where you're going. You hit my mother. How dare you? I was very upset. She was like, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine, Mom. It's not fine.
Oh my gosh.
Don't deserve to be hit with a cart on the sidewalk. It's not okay.
Oh, you'd be a good old grandmother. Yes. Yelling at people.
I would be a great, oh my God. I'd be like the best. Sometimes I kind of wish you could skip over and just be a grandma.
I know. Well, you know how? Stepmothers, and then grandparents to their children. That would be. Yeah. I mean, I'm not against it being a stepmother.
Oh my God, I'm very not against it. I'm not against being a mother necessarily either. We got to figure it out, but
I know.
Got to find a sperm donor or something. I don't know. Oh my God. Do you have any traditions in your family? That was something too I was thinking about with like, aside from even when you weren't super, super close to your grandparents, there's just stuff. There's like, I feel on my mom's side, there is like a lineage, heritage, something I feel very connected to with like, and that goes back to my great grandmother. When I see pictures, like I just feel connected to that vibe and like the home kind of homesteading in a literal way, not like in a dumb way when people use that word. Like my family were homesteaders, so like there's something. Even the way I cook food is like very reminiscent of my grandmother. The way I the sewing, all of my sewing stuff is 100% from like that line. I just feel very connected to that. Do you feel that at all? Or like, can you think of like even recipes that maybe your mom makes that remind you of grandma or?
It's just funny.
I don't know. What?
Well, unfortunately, no. I feel nothing. I feel nothing.
Okay. All right.
No, but so, everybody does know by now, my dad has Alzheimer's. And so he likes to repeat. Obviously, this is what happens. Just repeat stories. And it's been fascinating because some of these stories from his childhood that I've never heard are coming out of nowhere, which is really interesting. And one of my favorite stories that he tells every single time I see him is that so I had two uncles. There were 3 kids in my dad's family. So there were him and his 2 brothers, and they would like just be boys, I guess. My dad likes to say boys will be boys, and I tell him we don't say that anymore. But him and his brothers would go and gather like snakes and turtles and frogs and just real gross stuff and bring them back to my grandmother. And my dad loves the story of that my grandmother just skinning them all alive and cooking them for dinner. Like every little animal that they would bring back, my grandmother would skin and they would eat. So I think that's super badass.
Yeah.
And then on my mother's side, the only thing I like, I think traditions that we pass down and we still do over the holidays, especially, are shots. We do a lot of shots.
Oh, good.
My grandfather loved to do shots, and so we do shots Christmas morning, and it's real fun. Shots and skinning turtles alive. And
I love it. I love it. I mean, that's but great. I mean, on brand.
What are you?
Totally.
That's great. Do you have any recipes?
I mean, I think that it's like the potato salad, my famous potato salad, all those kinds of those kinds of things, salads, South Dakota salads. You know how I feel about those South Dakota salads, which are not no vegetable to be found.
There's like marshmallows in those things.
Marshmallows in the salads. I love it. That kind of stuff. The sewing. It's like, honestly, it's like there is like a farmer in me. There's like a farmer's wife really in me somewhere in there, which is not something I think people would think of when they think of me, but it's in there. She's in there somewhere. And just like that the homemaking vibe. And I mean that in like the best way. Like I mean it in like a I don't know. And it's like my house is a mess and there's all these things that don't feel in line with that. But there's just certain like elements that I feel very. And then actually on my dad's side, she taught me how to needlepoint, and she was not like a traditional grandma. She was a model in New York City, and was just like maybe the most beautiful woman that ever walked the planet. And she's just like and she was like a model at like 40. Like she got a divorce, and then like so she lived this like crazy life. Again, didn't always make great choices for her children, but was a really great grandmother. I don't know. So there's a lot of that. I think that there's like a combination of this like wild, fiercely independent person in me, and then this like more traditional like something. I don't know.
I've never met a more crafty bitch. That's for sure. Like literally anything you need. Anything. I mean, from like a poster board that says something with puffy paint to like
a Jake Gyllenhaal puppet.
A Jake Gyllenhaal puppet.
I made a Jake Gyllenhaal puppet.
Or
it's
like
in one of our videos,
fixing like, a light stand, or, you can do it. You do it. And I do think maybe that's like the pioneer woman in you that's like, I'll weld this thing for you quickly.
Yeah. No, I think that there's definitely like a pioneer vibe in me from that. The other thing too, I was just thinking is the person that was the most like musical in the family was my dad's mom. There wasn't like my parents weren't musically inclined particularly in any way, but my grandmother was, and she would, my other grandmother would call that jumping jeans, where and that was a thing too. Even the sewing and stuff. My mom was like a good sewer, but it was my grandmother that was like a really good sewer, and they called that jumping jeans. That like I got a lot of that stuff from my grandmother and not necessarily from my parents.
Yeah, still nothing from.
Nope, nothing. Just the snake. Your dad wasn't big on skinning snakes, but you're all about it. You're finding pizza. You're hunting pizza in the yard. Like you're getting all those. Yeah, rugged.
We're scrappy little. I bet that there's a pirate in my family blood, like the tree. Like there has to be like a winch and a pirate that made love, and that like that's how we came about or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It. My family's all Vikings. I told you.
That's right. Yeah,
we're all Viking.
Yeah.
So we've totally digressed. I don't know what we're talking about. It's great. Whatever.
It's great, grandmas.
I forgot we were doing a podcast. I thought we were just chatting about stuff. I don't really know.
No, but I think it's important around the holidays to discuss this stuff.
Absolutely. I was going to say throw one more thing in just to make people think and see like what is their experience. But this one article said that most people are close, especially women, are closer to their maternal grandmother side because the maternal grandmother is the one that usually does mostly the helping out and the rearing of the helping with the children and stuff. Partly because like the mom is asking her mom for help. You know what I mean? More. And I wonder for some people if that's true or not. This is more of like not a rhetorical question, but a question into the ether because I'm not going to get a response today. I was closer to my father's mother, but it was because of proximity, you know? Anyway, just thought was that worth mentioning? I don't know, but I did it.
Well, I do know about my grandmother, Jackie, my mom's mom. She lived for us grandkids. Like she just, I mean, from the stories that I heard, I mean, she loved horses and she believed in reincarnation. She kept a dream journal. Like this woman.
God, I love that.
Oh, you would have loved Grandma Jackie.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know her, but you.
No, but I.
But you would. No, but and my mom was very, very close with her mother, and she died suddenly in the middle of the night of heart attack, and so it was just a really sad. And very young, and I was very young, and Margot, my younger sister, had just been born, and it was. I think that it's been it's hard. I think we're still processing it or something. Like it's when the hierarchy, when the matriarchy is gone like that, like it really did take a toll, and still I think kind of does. Anyway.
And also like, and not to bring it down more, but also I'm sure there might be some listeners out there that are either adopted or they didn't know their grandparents, or or their grandparents were terrible people. I mean, that also obviously happens. So we see you. We're sorry that wasn't something that you were able to have. And it's an interesting thing too, where it's not like you don't like have to have grandparents in your life to have a happy, successful life, but it's when you have good grandparents, it really is a privilege and a joy to have. And so for those of you that still have living relatives that you love, cherish them.
Yeah, get vaccinated and go visit them.
Visit them. Yeah, but don't kill them for the COVID. But or call them if you can't visit. You know what I mean? And especially if they haven't heard from you in a while, like I'm sure they'd be happy to hear from you. I don't know your grandparents, maybe they wouldn't be, but I'm assuming they might. But it's worth thinking about. And I wish my grandparents were. They're all gone now, but I would love to be able to call any one of my 3 grandmothers.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're thankful for you for listening to our podcast every week. We're going to be real thankful when you buy some of our merchandise.
And I think you'll be thankful to us for giving you some merchandise to buy. No? Is that that's presumptuous of me.
Oh, well, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy.